Yeah. Today we'll look at the stress aspiration syllabification unit. Okay, so this will take some time. I don't think we'll be able to finish it entirely today. So maybe next week too we'll be continuing. Um, I'll start off with talking about syllabification and stress. We'll look at some of the rules that are discussed in the um, lecture and some of it that some other rules that you probably can keep in mind while you're working out questions on stress. Okay. So how much ever we finish, it could be could be the uh, situation that we might only do half of it today. But that's okay. At least if you're able to finish up on the explanation part of stress, that should be fine. And then, the activity thing you can take up the next week, right? So I'll share I'm not going to share it right now with you. We'll discuss a bit on the syllabification thing, and then after that, we can work out the questions on syllables and then stress again. Okay. So let's start then. So, what do you understand about syllables? Right? What is your basic understanding, and how do you what technique are you right now using for syllabification? Maybe say when you're solving questions for the graded or the quiz as well. I think this one you had, this is week 8, so you obviously had this for your second quiz also, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I think I know about the jaw drop thing. That should be suitable for a lot of people. It's not like they do not, that doesn't work. But uh, what is it that we are dividing when we are dividing syllables? This is more important to know. So if I have a word like, say, calculator, right? For example, calculator. Um, how do I know how many syllables? This is now I'm asking you a more technical question. Okay? This is not about what methods will you use to see how many syllables we have, but I'm trying to understand if you are aware of the concept of syllable, right? So in the word calculator, if I'm asking you about the number of syllables, what is it that gives you a cue about the number of syllables in that word? How do you know? Technically, how can you know that this could be the number of syllables in this particular word? What gives you the hint? Any idea?
When we pronounce the word out loud, uh,
Yeah.
we are
No, no.
able to like pause at particular after groups of letters or
Groups
sounds.
of okay. Don't bring in this letter part at all because anything that we are going to do with the um, learning of language, at least for our course, will have very little to do with letters because see, uh, letters are not important, and particularly in the case of English, there are a lot of traps as far as the letter thing is concerned. So keep it as sounds, right? So yes, so when you're saying that when you speak aloud, you know that at a certain place there are what we call as some kind of pause or gaps, or in other words, technically we call them boundaries. We know that okay, at certain point there's the boundary, and from there something else begins, right? So this is the idea. This is what you can in layman's point of view, in a general uh, point of view, you could say that this is how we know that the word at hand is made of something, okay, some unit put together, and that unit breaks at certain boundaries. Okay, you put those several blocks together, and you have a word, right? This is what your basic understanding of syllable can. Okay, so keep that with you. Now, next important question is, what do you think makes up a syllable? So we know words make up a syllable, right? What makes up a syllable? It's a smaller unit of the word, correct? But what makes up a syllable? Or indirectly, my question is on the structure of syllable. What is the structure of a syllable? If I show you or if I ask you about a syllable, what do you think it is made up of?
Consonant and vowel sounds.
Consonants and vowels, right? So you basically using combinations of consonants and vowels in order to build your syllable. Or to put the other way around, you look at a syllable and you know that it's a combination of some sounds, and that sound could be either consonants and vowels, and or it could be just the vowels, right? So, if that is the case, then what do you think is the main part of the syllable, right? What can you, how? What is that one thing, one component without which you cannot have a syllable? The
Vowel
vowels.
sounds.
The vowel sounds, right? So this is why we sometimes also call vowels as the nucleus of the syllable, right? So if you take the structure of a syllable, the main part or the nucleus of that particular syllable would be a vowel sound, which means you can never have a syllable with just the consonant sound. A consonant sound alone cannot form a syllable. It has to always have the help or has to have a vowel sound along with it so that a syllable unit can be formed. But a vowel alone can form a syllable unit. That is allowed because it's the main part of a syllable, the structure of a syllable. So a vowel alone can form a syllable unit on its own, but a consonant cannot ever form a syllable unit on its own. It always needs a vowel sound along with it to form a syllable, right? So this is about the basic structure of a syllable. Now, if that is the case, then do you think it is okay for me to say that if somebody asks me about syllabification, asks me how many syllables in this word, right? Then automatically the number of vowel sounds in that word will be the total number of syllables in that word. Okay. So if I'm able to make a count of the total vowel sounds, again, vowel sounds, not the vowel letters. We don't confuse letters with sounds. So the total number of vowel sounds in a word is then a direct count of the total syllables that make up that word. Okay, this sounds like a good enough thing to say, right? If if the main part or the nucleus of a syllable is a vowel sound, then the total number of the vowel sounds in that word is what is going to tell you about the total number of syllables in that, total number of syllables that is made of that word. Okay, this point is clear, right? I don't think they should have any confusion there, right?
Yes.
Right. So this is all. So as far as the questions on syllabification are concerned, especially the kinds which ask you, what are the total number of syllables in the following words? The only thing you need to know is the total number of vowel sounds. If you're able to make the distinctions of all the vowel sounds in English clearly, then you can easily go ahead and mark your syllables. Okay. So that's all about the syllabification part. Let's work out a few questions so that it's a little clearer to you. I'll share the document with you. We'll see a few questions there and see if you are able to do that as discussed. Okay. So I think the screen should be visible to you now. Okay. So we are going to look at the first question on syllable. Count the number of syllables in the following words. You have quite a bit of them. I have included as many as possible so that you can, with some kind of variety, especially the ones which have diphthongs. I've seen that people find it a little difficult when diphthongs come into question. The identification between diphthongs and vowel sounds that are independently found in a word, these are sometimes a matter of concern in a few words. So some of those words are also included. Let's see how this works. So for the first question, the first word here, magnificent. How many syllables? It would be nice if you can tell me the syllables also so that I know how you're doing the divisions. Magnificent.
4.
Okay, and which are they?
Magnificent.
Mag, me, see, and scent. Right? So four, you have four vowel sounds. If you want to check, you can do that. The first one is a, ma, right? Then me, second one e, then c again e, the third vowel sound, and then scent, a, which is the last sound there. Okay. So four vowel sounds, four syllables. Right? That's how it works. So we're just proving the theory that we just proposed. Okay. Right. Now the second one. How about the second one? Automobile. Automobile.
4.
Okay. And what would that be?
O
Ah,
automobile.
okay.
Mm,
Or,
O and to are different, I think.
yeah, yeah, they are different, of course.
O to
Or,
mo
uh, or,
to
the,
mo
more,
and bile.
uh, and automobile. Okay, you say while, that's fine. So four of them, right? Right. And
Yes.
any among this that you think is a discount? Any among this that you feel is a discount in this question? I'm just checking because most of you said automobile, right? So automobile, right? So no diphthong sounds. The last I that you hear, sorry, the I letter stands for E, long E, not I. Okay. So automobile. So four pure sounds, or what you call as pure vowels, right? Monophthongs. Or the ma D, right? Correct. Next one, drastic. Drastic.
I think 2.
Huh. Two and dra and what is the division? I mean, you don't have division, but just to check if you understand. Dras and tick, right? Two. So
Yes,
first one is the
drastic.
A sound, correct, and second one is E. Right? The two vowel sounds, two syllables. Factory, factory, factory. This is something that usually people get wrong. Factory.
3.
Ah, okay. How did you get that? So what are the three syllables then? Usually people
Fact.
would say two because it's pronounced as factory. The schwa sound that follows in this one. Sometimes that's also because there's a difference in the American and British pronunciation. Probably in the American pronunciation, they don't say factory; they would say factory, right? Okay, to some extent, you can say that maybe two and three both are acceptable since both are acceptable varieties of English. But in its original form, factory actually has three syllables, right? So this first one, okay, you can go ahead. What is the first one?
Fact.
Fat, right? So the a sound, that's the vowel sound, and then followed by
To or re.
ch, followed by ch. So the combination, almost forms the cluster there because after ch, what you hear is not an o sound, in fact, right? So in the accepted varieties, it's the or what you call as shwas, right? So it's fat, ch, and re. Okay, that's right. So a lot of people have a tendency to combine it together because the is a very weak vowel, right? It's a very unstressed vowel. So people in spontaneous speech, although when people speak, it could sound as factory and not factory. Okay, so that's okay. Since we are saying it has three syllables because we are looking at the unit at the word level. Obviously, when you speak in a sentence, when it's a spontaneous speech, of course, factory won't be. You won't say factory. Most of the people would end up saying factory, where it sounds like it has two syllables, right? So what you hear in spontaneous speech is different from when you look at a word at the, uh, at an individual level. When you look at the word on its own. So that's why you probably, even if you hear a difference, it's probably because of the spontaneous speech use. Okay, just keep this point in mind. You should not feel like, there's a discrepancy that people use factory, but then why do we say this? It sounds so because of the spontaneous speech. Okay, there are many words which would look like they don't even have a stress or syllable boundary in spontaneous speech. Marking boundaries when people speak spontaneously is a little difficult task. But all these stress and aspiration and syllables, these are all units at a very micro level, right? When you analyze something at a micro level, okay, these are the various components that form these things. right? So it's a part of that analysis. So do not think that there is a problem. A lot of people ask this question. I cannot hear it when I speak. We are not able to hear it because when you speak spontaneously. You don't, give breaks between words, right? That's the reason. Okay. Next one, audible. Audible.
3 syllable.
3 syllables, right? So first is O, then D, and then B. Okay. Manchester.
3.
Manchester.
Man,
Manchester
chair,
also.
chest, dog.
Uh-huh. Man, chess, and turn. Okay. Manchester. Okay. India.
3.
India. And which are those?
N, D, A.
Yeah. In, the, and a, right? So it's not yeah, it's the thing that you hear at the end is not a diphthong, okay? Not er diphthong. It's basically two different sounds, in, the, and a. Okay. Again, the reason why it sounds like a two-syllable word to us is because in spontaneous speech, some of these words can form, they can fuse together, not words. Some of the sounds can assimilate with each other, right? So when assimilation happens, it sounds like, you're hearing a diphthong, but you look at the word on its own, you know that there are three different syllables. Okay. Okay. Pandemic. Pandemic.
3 syllable.
And which are those?
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic.
So 3 syllables. Pen, dam, ik. Okay. 3 sounds. So 3 syllables. Traveler. Traveler.
Again 3.
Again 3. Trav, L,
Tra,
and A. Okay.
travel.
Trav, L, and A. Correct. Trav, L, and A. Okay, the last one. Next is medical. Medical. Very easy.
Ma'am,
3.
for a traveler,
Yeah.
why is it not travel and ma'am?
Why is it not Trav, L, and That's what I said. No, it's Trav, L, and That's what I said.
I mean, is the last syllable Ler or Er?
No, no. Last syllable is A.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Okay. So medical, I think medical also has 3, right? Medical. So 3 syllables. Fate. How about fate?
Oh, one sir.
Fate has
1.
1 syllable, right? 1 syllable. So there's only one diphthong involved in this, and this is a monosyllable. Okay. Then career. Career.
2 syllable.
Career. 3 syllables. Career. Or 2 syllables. You have to tell me this. Career has 3 syllables or 2 syllables. Career. Do you hear a diphthong or do you hear how do I say, a long E? Career. Is it career or is it career?
Diphthong, ma'am.
It's a diphthong. What you hear at the end is a diphthong. Career. It's ear. It's not career. Career. Okay. So it has 2 syllables there. So first is the ka, and then there's rear, which is your second syllable, right? It's a diphthong. What you hear at the end is a diphthong. Okay. Career. Okay. Then what is it? Falsification. Yeah,
Ma'am, can you
falsification.
repeat how many syllable in career?
Career. Career has 2 syllables. So you have ka, and then you have ear. Okay. Sorry, ka and ear. First is ka. First syllable is ka, right? And the second syllable is ear. Okay.
Okay.
Then comes falsification. Falsification. Falsification.
5 syllable.
So you have, what are the syllables you have?
Fell, C, T,
Hmm.
K, sun.
Correct. So fowl, C, P, K, and shin. Right. So 5 syllables. Okay. This one is also an interesting example. Trigonometry. Trigonometry. Trigonometry.
5, ma'am.
5. Right. And what are those syllables?
Tree, gone, no, me, and
Uh,
tree.
Tree, go, nom, a, tree. Okay.
Trig,
5 syllables. Tree.
ma,
Tree,
tree.
a, no, a, tree. Trigonometry. Okay. Trigonometry basically comes from a Greek word, so it will have its own, uh, you know, some kind of influence from that. So you'll see um, some effect of the borrowing here. But as far as English is concerned, no matter where you are bringing the word from, whichever language you are borrowing it from, English uses its own stress pattern, sorry, its own syllabification pattern to do that. Syllabification is available in other languages as well. Uh, Many of the languages will do that. Some of the languages are not divided based on syllables. So there are syllable time languages, there are stress time languages, there are mora time languages. So languages based on their aerial genealogical classification will use different set of things to build their words. Right? English is very highly syllable and stress time language. Right? So anything you put into that, the rules of English in general is going to apply to those languages, which is why even though the borrowed word, again, English uses its own syllable stress rules to classify it. Okay. Next, binomial.
Four syllable.
Binomial. 4 syllable. Okay. Tell me what are the 4 syllables.
Why, no, me, al. Why, no, meal.
So you have a by, no, me, and al. Yeah. 4 syllables. By, no, me, and al. Okay. Correct. Then comes collusion. Collusion.
3, ma'am.
Yeah, 3 syllable.
Three. So pollution. Okay, pollution. Yeah, 3 syllables. Correct. Pollution, and then comes contest.
What is last
Contest.
syllable in pollution?
Shin.
Sun. Okay.
Shin. Yeah, that's the last one. Pollution. Shin is the last one. Okay. Contest. Contest.
2 syllables.
2 syllables, right? Contest. 2 syllables. Improve. Improve.
2
Two
again.
syllable.
Again, 2 syllables, right? Im and prove. You have improve. Okay, 2 syllables. Okay. Next is yesterday.
Three
Yesterday.
syllable.
Okay. So what would be those syllables? Yesterday.
Yes. Yesterday.
Uh, Yesterday. Right? Yesterday. That would be your 3 syllables. Then the last one you have scrupulous. Scrupulous.
3
Three
syllables.
syllable.
3 syllables. Right? Screw, pure, and less. Right? So scrupulous. Correct. Okay, so whatever your words are, then your task to identify uh, the number of syllables would be to look at the total number of vowel sounds. If you're able to make a distinction of that carefully, clearly, then this shouldn't be a problem for you. Okay. Just be mindful of some of these words which can have diphthong-like constructions. Like, for example, the word binomial, right? Some of the people last time when we were discussing, they said it is binomial. So they considered ear as they thought it's an ear diphthong again. But be careful of those kind of words, those kind of listening. When you have words like this, just pay a little attention, say the word a few times to yourself and see if you get the flavor of a diphthong, right? And the other one that we discussed, like career, right? So ask if you say career or you say career, right? So if it's career, then obviously the second part has to be a diphthong. You say binomial, right? So binomial, uh, you should be able to make this distinction that, okay, I'm not saying binomial, I'm saying binomial. So obviously that last two vowel sounds are distinct sounds, they are not diphthongs, right? So just a little bit of attention to this, diphthong-like, things that you can see in a word. Otherwise, this is not a very difficult thing. Just know the number of vowel sounds and you're good to go with the syllables. Okay, stress. So stress, before we're going to take up the exercise, we are going to discuss a few things. I want to discuss the stress pattern in English with you before I take that up. I'll share the screen with you. This is this document is also already uploaded for you, so you can find this there. This is on stress patterns in English. Let's give me a moment. Is the screen visible? Why is it not showing yet? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay, is it visible now?
Now it's now. It's
Okay, all right. Fine. So, we're going to look at the stress patterns in English, and we're going to go through a few of these. I don't know if we are able to like entirely finish this thing today. I think most probably we'll be able to discuss this one, but maybe not take up the question. That we'll do in the next class, so that's not a problem. So we'll be navigating through mostly three things. One is the general rules, right? What are some of the general rules that exist as far as English stress patterns are concerned? Then we'll move on to the rules that are applicable to disyllabic words, then for trisyllabic words, and then the suffixes and stress patterns, right? So English is a highly morpheme-ridden language, so it has a lot of suffixes and mostly suffixes more than prefixes. So, and as these suffixes come in, there are changes in the way a word's stress pattern behaves. So we are going to discuss that as well. So mostly four divisions: one on the general rules, and second on the disyllabic one, third trisyllabic, and then the suffix ones, right? Of course, the lecture mentions a few more, like for example, how the stress pattern works on compound words, right? Particularly, how does the stress pattern work when there's a noun and noun compound, or there's a noun and adjective compound, or there's an adjective and verb compound, or how does it work on a phrasal verb? Additionally, it also talks about how functional stress work. Like for example, there are words which act as both verbs and nouns, right? So how does the stress pattern occur in the word when it acts like a noun or when it functions as a verb? So functional stress, functional stress basically is when the word changes its stress patterns, the syllable changes its stress pattern based on the function of the word, the way it behaves in a sentence, is a noun or a verb. So all of this would be discussed in this, right? So, but before we look at the rules, okay, a little bit of discussion on what do we mean by stress? Like we looked at syllables, right? What is stress? So all of this that we discuss in syllables, aspiration or stress and pitch and rhythm and intonation and all of them belong to what we call as suprasegmental features. So this is not something that you can observe and see. Like in a word, you can see. Syllable is again visible. You can see, right? You can break it open into a word and in a word, and you can see that okay, this unit is a syllable. It has its structure. But things like pitch or intonation or stress or aspiration, these are more of acoustic properties, right? This is usually something that you can experience when you articulate a sound. This is not something that you can see, okay, in the letters or physically you cannot see. So, but these are features that helps you make your speech more active, right? Make your speech more meaningful, make it more expressive, right? So we call them suprasegmental tools. Suprasegmental means it's a segment that is not visible, right? Something that is beyond the segmentative quality of a word. So suprasegmental. What is a stress? So when I say that a certain syllable in a word is stressed, what do I mean? You don't have to look for definitions. You tell me your commonsensical understanding of what a stress is. Okay? I say, for example, in the word, let's say, what were we discussing? Calculator, right? So I say that in the word calculator, uh, which one is stressed? Calculate and calculator. Yeah, the first syllable, right? So calculator, I would say that the first syllable, cal is the one that is stressed. So when I say this is the first syllable is stressed, what do I mean? What do we intend to say when we say that the syllable is stressed?
Yeah,
No, you
what
did
are
not
you
follow
asking?
it from the you did not follow it from the lectures. When you call a certain syllable to be stressed in a word, what do we mean? What do we mean by it is stressed? No? See, stress in a word or stress syllable in a word basically means that that particular syllable of the word in comparison to or in relation to other syllables in the same word, when articulated, it's articulated a little louder and a little longer in duration than the others. That is what is stress, right? So when we say that, I'm going to stress on something, usually when how do you stress on something? You make it sound a little louder and you'll say that for a little longer time. In the sense you'll say it a little slowly. It becomes longer because you say it a little slowly. Isn't that right? Right? So that's how use stress on something when you want to say, right? Same thing applies here. So when I say that this particular syllable in a word is stressed in comparison to or in relation to other syllables in the same word, I mean that particular syllable is articulated or when said in a word, it is said a little louder and for a little longer time in comparison to others. Okay. Now, why is it not really visible to us for us? Because we are, of course, Indian English speakers and our languages are not stressed nine. We do not have the pattern of stress very prominent in our language. So we use the same thing to say English as well, right? So we do not apply stress while we speak in English. The English that I'm talking to you, this is a non-stressed English. I'm not stressing on anything, right? But the native English speakers, when they speak, because English is a stress time language, you'll see this particular phenomena happening. And this is why the speech, the English speech, that one of the reasons why the way they speak English sounds different from ours is because of this stress pattern, right? So they stress on syllables because it's a very important feature of their language. So this is one feature that is marked separately. That's what makes their English or their variety of English sound different from how we speak English. Okay, this is one of the features that people can use to say that, oh, are you somewhere from the South Asian region? Because no stress, right? Most of the South Asian languages they lack stress, right? So as far as stress is concerned, this property is basically when that given syllable is spoken louder and a little longer than the other syllables in the word. That is very simple. This is what stress means. Okay. And to do this, however, English follows certain rules. So it is not like, you randomly make a selection on, I feel like stressing the syllable of the word, let me stress that. It's not like that. So they follow certain patterns. There are certain rules that the English speakers use to decide on which part of the or which syllable in the word is stressed. And that is what we are going to discuss now. Okay. So the first general rule is that monosyllabic words are stressed on the vowel sound in the word. Now, this is directly tied to the question of stress. So when I say that a particular syllable is stressed in a word, I actually mean to say that the vowel sound, say I have a word like calculator, right? So how many syllables do I have? I have calculator, 4 syllables, right? And among those 4 syllables, my first syllable cal, that is stressed, right? So when I say cal is the syllable that is stressed in this word, what I'm trying to say is that among the 4 vowel sounds that I have, that is a, and t, right? The last one, out of the 4 vowel sounds that I have, which has formed this word, okay? The first vowel sound, which is a, is the one that is stressed. Or in other words, in a stressed syllable, the actual component that is stressed is the vowel sound. It's not the other consonants that have made up that vowel sound. So in cal, you have k, a, and l, right? So you have 2 consonant sounds, and then the nucleus, the main part is your a, which is the vowel sound. So the stress is basically on the vowel sound, which means when you're making it louder, when you're saying it louder, or when you're making the sound a little longer, what are you making longer and louder? You're making this vowel sound longer and louder. So this vowel sound is what you'll hear for a longer time or for the louder sound, right? So that's the meaning. So in a syllable, the stress is basically carried by the vowel sound of the syllable. Okay, that's the meaning. So now monosyllabic words are stressed on the vowel sound in the word, basically means that. Okay, in a monosyllabic word, you only have 1 syllable. Okay, which means when you say there's only 1 syllable, we are also saying that there's only 1 vowel sound. So that particular vowel sound is the one which carries the stress. Okay. There are propositions. There are people who would say that there is no stress in monosyllabic words since there is only one syllable. Some people would say that no, practically there should be no stress. There's only one word, right? So why would you stress? But since English is a stress time language, a lot of people would say that no, that is not the case. Even if there is only one, one syllable in that given word, if it's a monosyllabic word, there is still a stress which is taken by that one vowel sound in the word, right? Which is why if you have had a chance to listen to some of the phonics classes, right, in English, when you see kids taught sounds in English or words in English, you'll hear when they are monosyllabic words, as opposed to how we hear these things happening in our languages, in our Anganwadis or in our primary schools when we teach our languages. The English teachers have a tendency to make these monosyllabic words sound a little, again, like we mentioned, a little longer, a little louder. So it's not a deliberate thing. A lot of people would say that, oh, that is because they want to stress on the, name of the word. That is not how it is. It's a natural process because this English words, they are by themselves stress time. So monosyllabic words then, in that case, they sound like a little longer. It sounds like, they're producing too much of uh, noise when they say it because of the presence of the stress. Okay. So it's not a random activity. It's not because the teacher wants to stress on that word or anything. It's naturally the language style of doing that because of the stress. Okay. So we, for the course that we are doing, we'll keep it as, we'll keep monosyllabic words as stressed words. So if you get a question, for example, in the exam, they ask you monosyllabic words are not stressed. Please don't mark it as true. Okay, because it's a false statement. All words in the English language, whether monosyllabic or bisyllabic or trisyllabic, whatever it is, will carry a stress. Okay, so this is the premise from which we are starting on this, right? That's the first general rule. Then we need to focus on the second one, which is the vowel sound schwa, right? Have you seen this one? So, there are words, you can look at the second point for more clarity. So, the schwa vowel that occurs at the end of words such as sofa, in the middle of words such as emphasis, and at the beginning of words such as round, rise, right? So, all of this, so around, rise, sofa, emphasis, right? All of these words carry the vowel sound schwa. We call it schwa, okay? And if you are to articulate that sound, it sounds like, right? It's a very unstressed vowel. It's very small and, Unstressed because when you articulate that particular sound, it's barely audible, right? So, for example, if I say sofa, right? Until for it is very clear, but what follows it's not very clear, right? Because it's not clear because unlike your other pure vowels like or o or e or u, this is not something that is fully articulated, right? And which is also the reason why we call it unstressed vowel. Now, although this is unstressed, English has many words which will carry this particular sound, right? Sofa, emphasis, arise, around. I have just given you a few examples to make you understand what what the sound is. If I ask you to write down 20 words right now, I'm sure out of that, at least 10 will have this sound. So it's that common, right? Why are we discussing it here? Because this is the only unstressed vowel in English. Every other vowel sounds in English is going to be stressed, right? But this one would be unstressed. Why should we discuss this? Because if this particular vowel becomes the part of a syllable in a word, then automatically that particular syllable becomes non-stressed because this vowel sound is unstressed. Like for example, say sofa. If I ask you where is the stress in sofa, sofa, that is, where will you mark the stress in sofa? How many syllables in sofa? Let's begin with that. How many syllables do we have in sofa?
2, ma'am.
2.
Two, right? We have two syllables in sofa, right? So, which one among these two is stress mark?
The first one.
The first one, right? It can only be the first one, right? There are other reasons that you can give probably say that sofa is a disyllabic noun, so obviously non-disyllabic nouns mostly the stress is on the first syllable. Okay, this is one rule. I understand that. Now, even if this rule did not exist, right? In the absence of that rule, the stress would still fall on the first syllable. So, right? The reason being the second syllable fa carries a schwa, which is an unstressed vowel. It cannot take any stress on itself. So automatically the stress will definitely fall on the first syllable, even in the absence of the disyllabic noun being marked on the first syllable rule. Okay. Despite that particular rule, you'll see that the stress will definitely be marked on the first. Now, how about emphasis? Where do you think the stress will be on emphasis? Emphasis.
M, ma'am, the first syllable.
Which one?
Oh, the first syllable, M.
The first one, M. Okay. Okay. How did you come up with that? Why do you think it is the part should be marked? Emphasis verb is basically a noun, right? And how many
Second, I
syllables
think.
you have? Okay, let's do it one by one. So emphasis is what? It's a noun, right? And how many syllables? How many syllables in
3
emphasis?
syllables. 3.
Three syllables, right? Emphasis, right? Now, let's forget about which one takes the stress. Let me ask you which one cannot take the stress. You have emphasis. Among this, which cannot take the stress? Which syllable will not take the stress?
Sis can't stress.
Why can't this take the stress? Why can it not take the stress? Sis. Okay, you could say that in the natural order we cannot mark it because the stress has to be on the first syllable, given this is a trisyllabic noun, right? But my question is more on which is the syllable among this which cannot at all take the stress. Since we don't know, maybe if we add a suffix, if it is possible to add it somewhere, there is a possibility it can take stress. Okay, but no matter what, no matter what you add to it, maybe suffix or prefix or anything, which is that syllable which is not able to take stress at all.
The middle one, ma'am.
The middle one, right? Emphasis. Again, the reason is same because it carries the schwa. It has the unstressed vowel, so it cannot take any stress on it. You can do anything with that word. The stress pattern may change because of the addition of suffix and all that. But even in that case, this one will never take the stress because it has the schwa vowel with it. Okay, the vowel sound which forms that syllable complex is an unstressed vowel, so it cannot take stress of that. Okay, same goes in the case of round and arise, right? So round, how many syllables do you have? Round. Two syllables, right? Round, you have and then ow, the diphthong in the second one. Which one cannot take the stress?
The second.
Second one or the
Oh,
first
sorry,
one?
the first one.
First one. Okay, the first syllable, which is the vowel itself, right? The unstressed vowel itself, that cannot take the stress. So automatically the stress goes to the second one. Same is the case for rise, right? So again, it has two syllables. The first syllable definitely cannot take any stress because the first syllable is the schwa, unstressed vowel schwa by itself, and it is not going to participate in the stress. So automatically the stress moves to the second syllable, right? So
And it is
schwa,
also rule involve second syllable stress, not first.
which one? Sorry.
In verbs, second syllable stress.
What is that word? I did not get that.
I'm saying like if I talk about the noun, so first
Uh,
syllable stress. When we talk
uh.
about the verbs, second syllable stress.
Oh, okay. You're talking to me about the word class based stress tools. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is also one way of looking at it. You could say that since the rise is a verb, in a verb, disyllabic verb, always the second syllable is stressed, right? That's what you're telling me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is right. But particularly in cases of schwa, a more prominent rule would be that, oh, because this is an unstressed syllable, anyway, I cannot mark on it. Whether this is a verb or anything else, since I have a component that is unstressed, I definitely cannot use it. So my only option now that I'm left with is the second one. Okay. So see what happens when you're deriving rule. No, of course there are rules. So between for a word like arise, the more stronger rule, right? The stronger rule among the two that we just discussed would be the schwa rule, right? What makes the second syllable take the stresses actually followed from the fact that the first syllable is actually an unstressed syllable, right? It has a vowel that is unstressed, so it is out of question to talk about stressing that. So this is a stronger rule. Although people can also use the second one, you can say that yeah, also because it's a verb and disyllabic verbs to be marked on the second syllable for stress. That's right. That applies here. But a stronger rule for choosing the second syllable would be that the first one is an unstressed one. Okay, keep that in mind. So there could be certain cases where you get stuck with certain words. So always remember when more than two or three rules apply, see what is the most basic rule, okay, and go by that. Okay. Yeah, sole component of, I think it's enough. So words like brother, brotherhood, simpler, all of them, they carry these words. So wherever you see this particular vowel sound, you encounter it, you should know that this is an unstressed one and I cannot have the stress marked on the syllable which carries it. Okay, now fourth general rule, prefixes, right? Prefixes are often stressed in nouns and less often in verbs. So whatever comes in verbs as a prefix, most of the prefix that appear are on verbs than in nouns. Nouns do not have too many of them which take these prefixes. In verbs or in nouns, you should know that in general, prefixes are a category that does not participate in stress, right? They do not have the quality to attract stress onto themselves. But that's not the case with suffixes. Suffixes can, very significantly affect the stress pattern in a given word, which we'll discuss. There are separate set of rules for suffixes. We'll look at them. But prefixes in general, whether in nouns or verbs, and mostly in verbs, they do not participate in stress. So they don't attract any stress on themselves. They leave the stress for the actual word, right? The word root, than taking it on themselves. So see, if there's a prefix in an adjective, stress often falls on the first syllable of the root after the prefix, which means again the same thing, right? When I say if there's a prefix in an adjective, a stress often falls on the first syllable of the root after the prefix means the same thing as the verb, which means that the prefix does not take the stress. The stress participation begins on the root word, right? The prefix is avoided for the stress marking. Then there's a cross mark put on that, which we don't require. We're not going to discuss that. So now we look at some of the rules for disyllabic words, which I think we have already discussed a few of them. In general, you need to remember a few things, which is about how monosyllabic words also carry stress, and the stress is carried on the vowel sound, that one vowel sound that's present in the word, right? Second is about the schwa and its unstressed nature, which is why it doesn't participate in stress. Third is about the prefixes, right? How generally prefixes, whether in noun, verb, or adjectives, remain unstressed, right? They do not participate much in the stress marking process. Okay, so those are general rules. Now we go to disyllabic words. So we're going to discuss disyllabic nouns, disyllabic adjectives, disyllabic adverbs, and disyllabic verbs. Okay. So for nouns, disyllabic adjectives, and disyllabic adverbs, the stress is always marked on the first syllable. Okay, we always mark the stress for disyllabic nouns, disyllabic adjectives, and adverbs on the first syllable of the word. But in the case of verbs, disyllabic verbs, always we mark the stress on the second syllable. Okay, so this is the rule. This is the rule that nouns, adjectives, adverbs are more often stressed on the first syllable than on any other syllable, and disyllabic verbs are marked on the second syllable. Okay, the stress is marked on the second syllable. But there are exceptions in this case also, of course, right? So I did not say this to you before. See, what are the rules we are discussing as stress rules? I think this is also mentioned in your lecture. 80 to 85% of the words that you see in English, they are all going to follow this rule, right? But there are exceptional words which may not show the same kind of stress patterns. We do not ask usually that kind of words for stress marking in the exam, but when you encounter certain words and you feel like, oh, this is not what I've learned about stress in this, it is totally possible that 15% of the words may not fit into this category. The reason being, English is a highly, since it's one of the world languages, in the sense it's a more popular and more global language. And it is also a language that has been influenced by several languages since its, origin times, right? There is a French influence in English, Scandinavian influence, Greek influence, Latin influence, and being the global language, it keeps borrowing from other languages also into it, right? So this borrowing process of foreign loan words, as you say, it's a never-ending process in English. Now, because of that, there could be a certain percentage, 15 to 20% of words in English which do not follow this, stress pattern as we discussed based on the rules here. So, barring those words, most of what you see in English, you can apply all the rules largely, okay, to all the words there, barring these few exceptions. So, we don't bother too much about the exceptions. Look at what is largely applicable to the words there. Okay, to the larger set. So this rule that we have just discussed applies to 80 to 85% of the words that are nouns, disyllabic nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs in English. There could be a few exceptions, and the reason is being, loan words and borrowing. So we are going to avoid that from our discussion. Okay, so this is the rule. Now within this rule, again, you could have certain cases where you will see a little difference, although they are disyllabic nouns or adjectives or whatever. So we are going to look at them. For example, look at the word career and training. Now, as per the rule that we just discussed, career and trainee, both of them are nouns. Both of them are disyllabic nouns also. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So career and trainee, both of them are disyllabic nouns, right? But where is the stress marked? Is it marked on the first syllable?
In career, first syllable is stretched.
In career, no. You look at the screen, so that it should be a prime notation, but then I was not able to include it easily while I was making the PPT because my uh, this thing did not support the IPA, so I could not use that. So this looks like an inverted comma, right? Single inverted comma. That marks stress. So usually when you mark stress for the syllables, you mark a single inverted comma right in front of the syllable that is stressed. So whenever you see that notation, you know the syllable that follows that notation is the one that is stressed. So in career and trainee, what is stressed then? Which syllable? Ria
The
and
second.
E. So Ria in career and E in trainee are the syllables that are stressed. Okay. But does it follow our rule?
No.
No, right? So rule says that if there are two syllables in a noun, then ideally the stress should be marked on the first syllable. But that's not the case with career or trainee. What is the reason? The reason is that both of them carry,
Diphthong.
yeah. So trainee carries a long vowel and career carries a diphthong. Okay. Now, in cases where you have a diphthong or a long vowel in a disyllabic word, automatically the stress will be on the syllable which carries the long vowel or the diphthong. Okay, now what is the reason for this? What did we discuss when we were talking about stress? That in a syllable, the stress is actually carried by which part of the syllable? The vowel sound, right? So actually it is the vowel sound which is carrying the stress, right? Which means vowel is the part of the syllable which carries most of the weight, right? We call it syllable weight. So syllable weight is basically on the vowel sound in that given syllable, right? So if you have a syllable which has a long vowel or a diphthong for that matter, then that syllable is more weighty. It carries more weight. Yes, no? Yeah. So
Yes.
as opposed to having a pure vowel, if you have, say, a pure vowel that is longer or a diphthong, then obviously it has more weight than your pure vowel alone, right? So the longer nature of the vowel sound or the diphthong that the vowel sound is, it gives more weight to that particular syllable. So then because of this more weight, the stress then moves to that syllable which carries the diphthong and the long vowel. Okay. So understand there are gradations here. So between your pure vowel and your diphthong carries more weight, more syllable weight. And between a pure vowel, a short pure vowel and a long pure vowel, the long pure vowel carries more weightage, more syllable weightage. So if you have any such diphthong or a long pure vowel in a given two-syllabic word, then the stress automatically shifts to that particular syllable because of the syllable weight. Okay, so that is why career and trainee, although they are disyllabic nouns, the stress is on the second syllable for both of them because it's the second syllable that carries the diphthong or the long vowel in both the cases, and hence that is the syllable which is more weighty, and then that takes the stress on it. Is this clear? I don't think this is discussed in the lecture, or maybe I've missed out. I don't know. This is a very important information as far as stress marking is concerned. Okay,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
this clear? Any question? Okay, very simple it is. All you need to understand is that syllable weight. Syllable weight is not something I think that is discussed. So syllable weight because it's a longer vowel and it's a diphthong. If that is the case in a disyllabic word, then the stress has to be on the syllable that carries the long vowel or the one which carries the diphthong. Okay, that's all. Now, same applies to adjectives also. So look at the word complete, extreme, right? So complete again has two syllables, come and pleat. Extreme has ex and tree, right? Two syllables. So disyllabic adjectives. In this case also, instead of marking the stress on the first syllable as per the rule, we have marked it on the second syllable because the second syllable carries a long vowel, complete, right? Pleat has a long vowel. Stream in the second word extreme again carries a long vowel. So because of the presence of a long vowel, long pure vowel, we see a shift of the stress from the first to the second syllable in this case as well. Okay, same thing. as we discussed for the noun, disyllabic noun. Okay. Now comes the two-syllable verbs. We usually stress on second syllable, especially the first syllable. Yeah, obviously, if your first syllable particularly is a prefix, then you're going to mark it on the second. But in general, all the disyllabic verbs are marked on the second syllable. Okay. So dislike, dislike and misplace, both dis and mis are your prefix. We while we were discussing general rule, we said that usually prefixes do not participate in stress, right? So they do not affect the stress patterns at all. We avoid them from stress marking. And then what is left after that is like and place. They're monosyllabic words, so obviously the stress will fall on that syllable. Okay, that is the idea in dislike and misplace. But even if you did not have a prefix, like for example, you have give me a disyllabic verb without a prefix. Disyllabic verb without a prefix. No, you can't think of an example. Let's see, what do we have? This is the problem. When you think about it, nothing comes to you immediately. Okay. Okay. Let's say something like retire. Okay. I had to look it up. So the examples I have is reduce. Okay, reduce or deceive. Okay, let's take this example. So does it have a prefix? Does the word have reduce have a prefix?
No, ma'am.
No, right? So it doesn't have a prefix because you cannot break open the word into re and deuse, right? So there is nothing, there is no root word like deuse. So reduce is a non-breakable word. It's a simple word by itself, and it has two syllables, right? And it's a verb, reduce. Where is the stress in reduce? Which syllable? You have the in reduce. Where do you mark the stress for that? Second syllable, deuce, right? So the deuce, right?
Second.
Same with deceive. Deceive is again a word without a, it's a disyllabic verb without a prefix, right? So again, deceive. The stress is marked on the second syllable, which is C. Deceive, reduce, retire, right? Return, right? So most of the disyllabic verbs are going to be marked on the second syllable, with or without a prefix. Okay, in the case of prefix, definitely because prefix do not participate in the stress, and even otherwise, it's going to be marked at the second syllable. Okay. Then how much time do we have? Oh, it's already past 5. Okay. I think we can stop here. I don't want to crowd your mind with too many um, rules also. So we are only left with the trisyllabic words and the suffixes to discuss. We'll take it up in the next class, okay? And then do the exercises related to that. Meanwhile, just revise that particular part on stress. In case if you have any questions from the slides or anything, you can bring that to the next class and ask me. I'm going to stop for today because 5:30 I have another class and I have to set up a few things for that. I'm not going to go further than this. Okay. We'll continue in the next class. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I'll see you next week. Meanwhile, like I said, please go through some of these things and bring in if you have any questions. Okay. All right. Thank you. You can log out. I will also stop recording this.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. See you.